This is the plaintiff, Jared Wisniewski. He says the defendant knowingly sold him a car with a bad head gasket. He took terrible advantage of him, and he's suing today seeking justice. He spent $1,269.31. The defendant royally ripped him off, and he wants the defendant to take the car back and refund his money. This is the defendant, Lee Burchard. He says the plaintiff's his friend's son, and the guy needed a car. He had an extra car sitting around, so he gave him a great deal. A few months later, the plaintiff called him ranting and raving because he was driving the car and a gasket in the engine blew. He had no control over the car once he sold it to the plaintiff. He didn't give him a warranty or anything like that, and he's sorry. But this guy's simply out of luck because he's not taking the car back. He's accused of unloading a bad car.
All parties, please raise your right hand.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case in the docket. The plaintiff says the defendant screwed him over royally by selling him a car with a bad head gasket. But the defendant says he got a great deal, so tough. It's the case of blowing a big old gasket.
Thank you, Douglas. Mr. Wisniewski, you are suing Lee Burchard for $1,269.31 that you want him to pay you. Part of that, a refund on a car that you no longer want, and the rest, the sums that you spent to get it registered and insured. Okay, what's going on?
All right, well, I went to Mr. Burchard's house on, I believe it was July 15th or 16th to initially look at the vehicle. So I stopped over to his house.
And how did you know he had a vehicle for sale?
I'd been actually keeping tabs on the vehicle over a course of time. I'd been asking his son, Dylan, if the car was ever sold.
You're friends with his son?
Yes, that is correct.
Is this his son?
No, that's not the son I'm
Okay,
talking
who's
about.
that?
That's his oldest son.
Another son, just not the Dylan son.
Yeah.
All right, go on.
So I asked, I'd been asking Dylan about the car over a course of months, and he said his father hadn't sold it. And I said, okay, I'm looking to get my driver's license back. I've been off the road for...
How did you lose your driver's license?
I was written a ticket that I didn't have insurance when I really did, but...
So why didn't you just fix it?
I attempted to, and there was a long snowball effect, and...
Did you go to court and try to negotiate? Do you have your license?
Yeah, I have it now.
Okay, so what happens then?
Okay, so I went and inquired about the vehicle at Mr. Burchard's house, and we were taking a look at it. It looks very nice on the outside. Interior is very clean.
What is it?
It was a 1997 Mercury Sable.
Okay.
And he popped the hood for me, and things didn't look bad under the hood, but then when he got...
How are you qualified to figure out if something looks bad under the hood? Like what? Is it pretty? Like what do you mean when you say that?
Well, nothing looked out
Did you have
of
a
place.
mechanic take a look at the car?
No, I did not.
Okay, go on.
So he popped the hood on it, we looked under, and then he got in the driver's seat, stuck the key in the ignition, and the car didn't start.
Didn't start.
Didn't start. So after a little while of talking, we decided that he said he was gonna call a mechanic friend of his, take a look at it, and he'll let me know in a couple days.
How long had the car been sitting there?
The car had been off the road for about a year.
For a whole year it hadn't been started?
No, it got started 2, 3, 4 times a week.
You would just start it and then turn it off?
I would leave it run. Sometimes it ran for over an hour.
Why? Well, that sounds like
just because I multitask, so...
You forgot?
Yeah.
I multitask. That's what I'm going to call it whenever I forget something. All right, so it didn't start, so what did you do to it?
I had a friend of mine look at it. He said that it was the starter. I bought a new starter, put the starter in, didn't start, checked the battery, turned out it was the battery.
All right, so in any event then, you end up selling it to him. He sells it to you for how much? $780?
Yes, that is correct.
So then you take the car, and when do you take the car? What month?
I purchased the car on July 19th, and then me and his son Dylan were actually working out how we were going to get the vehicle towed to my house because I could not legally take this car for a test drive or drive it, period, because it wasn't registered or insured.
Okay.
And
Did you sign any paperwork when the car was sold?
I signed a bill of sale.
May I see the bill of sale?
I don't even know if I have it. No, I don't have it.
for the amount of $50. Why does it say $50 when we all know you paid $700 or $780?
When he wrote it up, he said he was going to write it up that way to save me money on tax purposes.
Oh, tax cheating. We're tax cheating now.
It's part of the American way.
Is it? Is it really? Because I don't know that it is. I don't know that it is, you see, for the amount of $50 in as-is condition with no warranty given or implied. What do you think the words in as-is condition with no warranty given or implied mean?
Take the car as it is. However, as is isn't what is. I was led to believe that this car was functioning and legally roadworthy and could be driven. I wasn't informed that there was already a pre-existing problem of the head gasket being blown.
How old was this car, my dear? 1997?
1997, yes.
Right. It's old enough to vote and drink. Okay? So you weren't informed of anything that was wrong with it because you didn't inform yourself of what was wrong with it. Your feeling is, he knew he sold me a piece of junk. He sold you a $780 car in as-is condition. What ends up happening? You keep the car for how long?
I had the car because he knew my plan, my layout for this car. After we negotiated price and I came back.
He knew your layout was what? What are you?
Well,
you didn't have your license back yet?
It was about 6 weeks I had the car.
So for 6 weeks you didn't turn it on?
I turned it on. I started it for about a half hour every single day.
And then after 6 weeks, what happens?
I got my driver's license back. That same day, I went and insured the car. The following day, I went down and I registered the car and retitled the car in my name. I drove the car for about 40 minutes, and in that 40 minutes, it stalled out on me and completely died on me 3 times.
Okay, and then what? And then what happens with the car?
Then after that, I gave Mr. Bouchard a call and discussed.
Right, but have you been driving the car? Is what I'm asking.
No, I only drove the car for that 40 minutes.
Right, but what? Okay, and so where's the car now?
The car is in the junkyard.
Okay, when did you junk the car?
I believe I junked the car around, about 2 days
I'm sorry,
later.
who just coached you on what to say? What is her relationship with you?
This is my mother.
Okay, and how old are you?
I'm going to be 30 in January.
Okay. We're going to need to let him testify. All right, I am a helicopter mom myself, so I get it. But you can, all right, so do you have the paperwork to prove when you junked it? And or do you have paperwork to prove when it broke down?
No.
How do I know you didn't drive it for 2 months?
You don't.
Right. And so the way I would know is you would have taken the car to a mechanic to see what was wrong with it. Did that ever happen?
No, because how would I get it there without paying towing fees? So
you'd tow it. So so this is a kid who's this is a man who is a friend of one of your sons. When he calls you and says, we have a problem, does that put you in an uncomfortable position with your son?
No, not really with my son. My son doesn't, he steps out and he goes, hey, Dad, it's not my problem.
Right.
But when somebody calls up and is ranting and raving to me, telling that it's my fault because he blew a head gasket on the vehicle.
How did he know he blew a head gasket if he didn't take it to a mechanic?
That's what he told me.
Did it have a blown head gasket when you had it?
No.
Okay. And
never had anything wrong with it. I was surprised that there was any kind of problem with it.
So you were surprised when it didn't start that day?
Yes, but it was an older battery that was in it, but it had been starting, so you're not going to change a battery that's, to your knowledge, working at the time. Once it stops working, then you change it.
What you need to do, Mr. Wisniewski, is you need to take a good look at the car you're buying and what your rights are. You are buying a 1997 vehicle, which is going to have problems because it's a 1997 vehicle. And the contract you signed says, and the problems are your problem, they're not my problem. That is what the phrase "as is condition" means.
Well, I do
stop talking. There's nothing else for you to say.
I have more evidence, though.
What more evidence could you have? Do you have a different contract?
I have text messages from his son's ex-girlfriend, who was a frequent passenger in that car the entire duration that car was on the road, and she even told me what was wrong with that vehicle that he didn't.
Oh, let's see that.
So it's a 21-year-old car. Plaintiff doesn't have it checked out by a mechanic and now is complaining. Plaintiff out of luck?
Oh, no, because the car is very old. Nobody checked it, so...
Well, nobody checked it. The question is, whose fault is that?
I mean, you bought the car as is.
Is it as is? Does as is mean tough luck?
Yeah, in the car business, yeah.
What do you say, man?
I say yes, he's out of luck.
Out of luck, going inside the courtroom.
This is who? This is the girlfriend of his son.
His son's ex-girlfriend, who was a frequent.
Ex-girlfriend. Why did your son and the girlfriend break up?
I'm sure there was, they weren't on good terms.
I got that feeling. Is it
Sounds
really
like a
going on
vendetta.
people's court? I got to see this. LOL. I hope you win. He threatened to kill me because I threatened him with legal recourse based on the situation. Who threatened to kill you?
He did.
How did he threaten to kill you?
That's what I was trying to tell you before. When I called him up after the car died, I carried myself very nicely. I talked to him. I said, "Hey, Lee, can I talk to you for a moment?" And I said, "The car you sold me has a blown head gasket, and I wanted to talk about getting my money back." He says, "You're not going to get it from me." And I said, "Why not?" And he said, "Because I'm not going to give it to you." And then I said to him, "Do I have to come down to your house, drop the car in the driveway, and hit you with some form of legal recourse?"
And that's when he said to you,
very explicitly, he threatened me.
"If you come to my house, Mother Blanker, I will blanking kill you." Did you tell him that?
If somebody's going to
It's the American way.
Street justice.
No, we don't do street justice. Okay. You're still out of gas. If you had a chance to inspect the car, if you chose to buy a car, because it's the only car you could buy for $700, and it has problems, and what problems it has, we don't even know because you never bothered to take it to a mechanic to find out what it would take to fix it. All of which would help, because if there was, if the mechanic is telling you, this transmission's shot, and and you could testify that he had said to you, "I put in a new transmission," those are ways to get around the as is, no warranty, because it is a warranty to swear to you that, to tell you and induce you to buy it by saying, "I put in a new transmission," none of which happened in this case. But anyway, "I put in a new transmission, it turns out then those are the ways people get around how they have nailed themselves with their contracts. And I shouldn't even say nailed, because every used car sale is an as-is sale, even if they don't put it in the contract. The default position is it's an as-is sale. But you buy it, then it sits in front of your house for I don't know how long, and then you drive it around, and then you expect that not only you're going to get your money back, you're going to get what you had to pay for insurance and what you had to pay to re-register the car with all your myriad of problems. You're out of your mind. My verdict in this case is for the defendant.
Thank you, Your Honor.
At least I cost him daytime.
So, the judge finds you out of luck, Mr. Wisniewski. You learned a lesson in buying a used car.
A little bit, but this kind of thing happens to a lot of people, and there should be more things that are in effect to protect people like me from people lying about things like that.
I assume it happens all the time when people buy used cars, but you should have read the contract. Car as is, no warranty implied. Well, anything wrong, you're out of luck.
Yeah, but
you learned the hard way.
Thank you.
Sorry about that. Yep. Mr. Burchard.
Hi, how are you?
Did you really threaten to kill him? Tell me true.
I wouldn't kill anybody.
But did you threaten?
If somebody wants to get physical with me, I'm ready to get physical with them.
All right. Did you think the car was a bad one when you sold it or not?
The car was fine when I sold it to him.
Doesn't sound like it was.
Well, that's his opinion.
All right. Okay, thank you very much. You must sign a few documents on your way out of the courtroom, okay?
Yeah, thank you.
Very good. Harvey, another lesson in buying a used car.
Doug, listen, this is an as-is sale, as the gentleman said, and unless you can prove fraud, you're out of luck, unless you get a warranty. And you can always ask for or demand a warranty with a used car.